Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the academic procession.
Please be seated. Ms. Elma Acob, honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen, and senior pupils, it is a privilege for me to officially welcome you to the 46th annual prize-giving ceremony of Hillcrest High School. This evening, we welcome the chairman of the governing body, Mr. Wayne Burwood, and Mrs. Burwood, and other members of the governing body, Mrs. Ingle, Mr. Knox-Whitehead, Mr. and Mrs. Brodreich, and Mr. Creed. We also welcome members of the Trust, Mr. and Mrs. Sims, and Mr. Ndlovu, the parents of the Executive Committee of the Student Leadership Team, and all those present at this most prestigious function of the school year. We welcome you. Ladies and gentlemen, please ensure that your cell phones have been turned off, as the signal may interfere with the sound equipment. And please may I request that the prize winners remain behind at the end of the function this evening to have their photographs taken. Thank you very much.
If there are still people needing seating, there are a few seats in the front if people would like to come and find a seat in the front. Now an item, ladies and gentlemen, that is not in your program. This has been a very difficult year in many ways for Hillcrest High. Not only because of the way we have been affected by COVID, but just because of the number of people in our school community who have lost their lives, whether to COVID or for other reasons, during the course of this year. And so I am starting what I hope will become a new tradition at important functions here at Hillcrest High, of a memorial candle at important school occasions in memory of those who have lost their lives during the course of the preceding year. Just on the staff, for example, I think this year Miss Kidgel's mother, Miss Stupel's father, Mrs. Knight's daughter Jessica, Mrs. Schroeder's husband Peter, Mrs. Coventry's mother, Mr. Cormo's 19-month-old son, Owenze, Mrs. Victor's mother, and of course, our much-loved Mrs. Wild. And that's just the staff. I know there are others as well. And so in a minute, I'm going to ask Mrs. Knight if she would do us the honor of coming to light this memorial candle for the first time. That will be followed by a minute of silence, or a moment of silence and reflection, and then I will conclude with a short extract from a speech. So could I ask you to stand, please? I love these words written in 1621 by John Donne. And into that gate they shall enter, and in that house they shall dwell, where there shall be no cloud nor sun, no darkness nor dazzling, but one equal light, no noise nor silence, but one equal music, no fears nor hopes, but one equal possession, no foes nor friends, but one equal commission and identity, no ends nor beginnings, but one equal eternity. Thank you. Please be seated.
This evening's reading is taken from Proverbs 19, verse 20 to 23. Listen to advice and accept discipline, and at the end you will be counted among the wise. Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. What a person desires is unfailing love, better to be poor than a liar. The fear of the Lord leads to life. The one rests content, untouched by trouble.
Please bow your heads for the prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Okalekisa uyise nonina. Isibani sake siyakucimeka esigayeni. Imfuyo ingotholwa ngokushesha ekuqaleni, kepha ukuphela kwayo akuyi kubusiswa. Ungasho ukuthi ngiyakuphindisela okubi. Yethemba kuJehova, uyakukusindisa. Izisindo ezimbili ziyisiningiso kuJehova, nesilinganiso senkohliso asilungile.
May we please bow our heads for the prayer. Baba wethu sezulwini, maliphathe kubugcwele igama lakho. Umbuso wakho mawufike. Intando yakho mayenzi emhlabeni njengasezulwini. Awusiphathe namhla isinkwa sethu, simhla ngemihla. Usithethelele izino zethu, njengoba nathi sibathethelele basanayo. Ungasingenise okulungweni, kodwa usisindise kukubi. Ngokuba umbuso ongowakho namandla nobukhosi kuze kuphakade. Amen. For the school hymn.
Please be seated. It would be nice to have some sound. Guest of honour, Ms. Elma Acob, Chairman of the governing body, Mr. Burwood and Mrs. Burwood, other members of the governing body, Trust Chairman, Mr. Mbongeni Ndlovu, and other trustees, honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen seated here in the hall and also attending on MS Teams. What a year this has been. I said that last year as well, but I think this year has brought with it many more challenges. That was the energetic prelude to Act 1 of Bizet's opera Carmen, and it sets the scenes for the prelude to this slightly different speech night address this year. It's a pleasure for me to also welcome you to the school's 46th speech night. This is my 22nd and last speech night address. I will be retiring at the end of March next year, in other words, at the end of next term, and so when this function comes round again next year, someone else will be standing here doing this. To the great delight, I'm sure, of those who've had to sit through a great many, and in a few cases, all of the 22 speeches I've given at these jamborees. Until quite recently, we did not know just what format this function was going to take. And even while we've been planning the event, regulations have changed. This is the kind of world we live in now. We've been so fortunate to have this wonderful facility, which, since we took occupation in August last year, has really lived up to its name, Multi-Purpose Centre. Because of its size, we felt from the off that we'd be able to accommodate more people in person this year than we had in the school hall last year. We also felt, however, that we did not want to crowd the venue, hence the attendance restrictions we retained even after the move to level 1 a couple of weeks ago. And looking at just how full this hall is, I think we were right to do that. There's an old observation about speech making to the effect that you always make at least 3 speeches. The one you make in the bathroom mirror before setting out, the absolute drivel you say when you stand up to speak, and the magnificent oration you convince yourself you've made as you drive home afterwards. I've done number 1. I leave it to you to decide on the second, and I hope I won't be making the third. At least I don't find myself in the position of the English novelist and journalist Aubrey Waugh, who was asked to deliver a speech in the capital of Senegal in French on the subject of breastfeeding. At the time, he'd been writing a column in the journal British Medicine and campaigning against compulsory breastfeeding in national health hospitals in England, so the request was not as unlikely as it might have seemed. He wrote the speech in French with considerable difficulty, only to discover on arrival in Dakar that his hosts were expecting a speech on press freedom. It is always difficult to decide what to include and what to exclude in an annual report such as this one. One is very aware of two extremes of speech making. On the one hand, there is the world record for making speeches, which is held by none other than Chief Mangosuthu Buthelezi. Addressing the erstwhile KwaZulu Legislative Assembly during the 1993 session, he spoke for 2.5 hours on 11 of the 18 days of the sitting. On the other hand, there's the famous story of Winston Churchill's address to students of his former school at a speech day ceremony in the early 1960s. Not needless to say, there was great interest in what the world's greatest statesman at the time had to say, and places at the event were at an absolute premium. When the time came for him to speak, a hush of expectation descended upon the large congregation. Surveying the scene as only Churchill could, he said in his slow, deliberate way, "Never, never, never, never give up." And he sat down. Perhaps you're hoping I would do the same. I hope that my speech will fall somewhere between these two extremes, possibly closer to Winston Churchill than to Chief Buthelezi, but that whatever its length, you will get a good idea of our successes and the challenges we faced at Hillcrest High School this year. Like 2020, 2021 will stand out in the memory of anyone who has lived through it. For me, as indeed for all of us, I expect, it's been a much more challenging year than last year was. The third COVID wave hit us badly, and there have been more disruptions to schooling than we envisaged or hoped for. The public education sector has been slow and sometimes erratic in its response to the pandemic. There's been a lack of information, misinformation, and conflicting information. Policies that look wonderful on paper are not properly implemented. We saw this last year when the protocol for managing COVID cases during the final Matric exams was not implemented at all. Our school community was, of course, also affected by the tragic civil unrest during July, and as you already know, a lot of members of the school community have suffered bereavement this year. Nonetheless, in typically South African style, and whilst these are, of course, serious matters, we always seem to find humour in adversity. Indeed, psychologists and other medical professionals tell us that humour is an essential coping tool for surviving during tough times. During the unrest, for example, one wag commented that it was ironic that two of South Africa's biggest online stores were called Loot and Take a Lot. And COVID humour has abounded. Things like quarantine has really put a damper on comedy. For months, nobody has walked into a bar. Did you hear about the guy speculating on hand sanitizer? He was rubbing his hands together. What's the difference between having to quarantine and politics? Politics doesn't end after 2 weeks. And how do you socially distance whilst around your family? Make sure you have a high-fibre diet. Of course, we have also had the joys of online learning. If I can have the first slide, please. I don't know if it was like that in your home, but I suspect that it's brought with it many challenges, and I know that there were many parents who were very glad when we went back to full-time schooling. Our recurring theme this year has once again been, if it is to be, it's up to me. And what I have to say tonight will attest to how many people have adopted just that philosophy here this year. In 1881, the University of Breslau conferred on the great German composer Johannes Brahms the honorary degree of Doctor of Literature, ironically not Doctor of Music. In gratitude, Brahms wrote for them a piece of music. He took a number of student drinking songs and cobbled them together into his academic festival overture. The piece ends with the most famous student drinking song of all. Here's the last 2 minutes. That started life as a student drinking song, believe it or not. Moving on to our core business, academics. We'll shortly be entering examination season. For teachers, the examinations mark the start of an administrative process that used to end with having to write comments on reports. These days, comments are computerized, and so there is less room for creativity. In fact, they're actually quite anodyne and quite boring, and I can't stand them. This was not always so. A former principal of Shrewsbury School in England used only 2 comments on reports. The one was trying, and the second was very trying. Other comments which have gone down in history, but which might not go down well these days, include these. A geography comment, he does well to find his way home. A physics comment, I've taught him all I know, and now he knows nothing. A general comment, if you won't believe half of what he says goes on at school, I won't believe half of what he says goes on at home. And a biology comment, or life science, I suppose we should call it these days, pregnant with promise, but shows no signs of labor. Matric results remain one of the few public measures that are used to assess a school's academic performance. There was concern about the way in which the pandemic was going to impact on Matric results in 2020, in spite of the fact that last year's Matric spent more time at school than any other grade. I was very proud of the achievements of last year's Matrics. In some other countries, such as the UK, for example, other measures were put in place. Exit examinations were cancelled, and other criteria were put in place for entrance to universities. However, our Matrics still had to write their school exit examination, an examination that had been set the previous year before we even knew that we were going to be hit by a pandemic. In summary, our results were as follows. 203 students wrote and 196 passed, giving us a pass rate of 96.6%. 71.4% of our Matrics got a bachelor's pass, 21.2% a diploma pass, and 4% got a higher pass. 91% of the class of 2020 thus satisfied the minimum requirement for some form of tertiary education. There were 245 subject distinctions, the highest number we have had since 2012. Getting 6 distinctions were Chiara Bartholomew, Joshua Cameron, Taya Garnham, Emma Hodgson, Vicharya Naidu, Morgan Payne, and Warren Searle. 5 distinctions, Quiniso Dlamini, James Geldar, Taryn Hunt, Saitha Jagdor, Dana Murphy, Pilani Ngobo, Teo Sykes, Lebohang Kaba. And with 4 distinctions, we had Tyler Duvall, Megan Diedrichs, Abigail Dippenar, Ricky Harrison, Madison Kelly, Pierre Jade Curtin, Julia Mandel, Owami Ndlovu, Uhlebam Mtanzi, Jack Roberts, and Kaylin Rogger. Our academic successes are acknowledged in a variety of ways, from traditional annual academic awards to those like those we will make later on, to quarterly achievement certificates for students who obtain aggregates in excess of 70 or 75%, progress awards for students who improve by more than 30 places in their grade between one academic year and the next, and headmasters' commendations for outstanding work. I like to think that we're good at acknowledging student achievement in traditional and less traditional ways, and believe that it is important to acknowledge a range of achievers and not only those who are top achievers. In May, we became one of only 4 schools in South Africa, although one of many worldwide, to have been selected as part of the Schüler program, an initiative of the government of Germany run through the Goethe Institute, quote, for the development and advancement of teaching German at excellent schools, unquote. We've offered German at second additional language level for a number of years now, but it's thanks to the passion and enthusiasm of Mrs. Botma that we were selected for this prestigious program. Being a Pasch school brings with it many benefits. Mrs. Botma's teaching room has been upgraded, and she has access to the most advanced e-learning technologies. Our students also have many travel opportunities, both locally and abroad. Last year, we should have sent groups to Namibia and to Germany, for example, but these trips were not able to go ahead. In addition to this, by learning a European language, there are study and work opportunities for our students abroad. Creating opportunities for our students is a critical part of what we do here, and this presents us with another avenue in which to do so. We look forward to this program bearing lots of fruit at Hillcrest High, and to more and more students choosing to do German as a subject. Staffing. Our students' successes are the result of their own hard work, in some cases at least, of course, but critically must be attributed to the quality and dedication of our teaching staff. October is Teachers' Month, and World Teachers' Day was celebrated on the 5th. It's thus entirely fitting that we hold this, our premier academic gathering, at this time. I was reminded of the dinner party at which the guests were sitting around the table discussing life. One man, the CEO of a major corporation, decided to venture his thoughts on the problem of education. This is something that happens quite often, I think. What's a kid going to learn, he asked, from someone who's decided his or her best option in life was to become a teacher? Remember, teachers, those who can do, those who can't teach. To stress his point, he turned to one of the other guests who happened to be a teacher. You're a teacher, Susan, he said. What do you make? Susan, who had a reputation for honesty and frankness and was really quite irritated by what he had said, replied, you want to know what I make? I make kids work harder than they ever thought they could. I make a person who gets a C feel like the ducks of the school. I make kids wonder. I make them question. I make them criticize. I make them apologize and mean it. I make them write. I make them read. I make them show all their workings in maths and perfect their final drafts in English. You want to know what I make? I make a difference, and I make all other professions possible. What do you make? There was no answer. This has not been an easy year for anyone. I've said that on a couple of occasions, and it certainly has not been for teachers. I remember one teacher telling me that in one lesson she was teaching one group of students in her classroom, another group was catching up on a test or assignment in another part of the classroom, someone else was doing some other activity outside, and she was also trying to teach students who were absent online as well. I think this next slide really demonstrates the effects of teaching on teachers this year. I've said on a number of occasions that I believe that once this pandemic is over, teachers will emerge as amongst its heroes. There is no doubt that we're going to see the impact of the pandemic on learning for some time. We have noticed a distinct deterioration in work ethic this year, and more students just don't seem to care. They think that the system will make allowances for them and look after them. It's not going to happen, and work ethic is one of a number of issues that will require our focus in 2022. We've had a number of staff changes this year. Mrs. Coventry and Mrs. Jaggard joined us in January. During the year, we bade farewell to Mrs. Baxter, who emigrated to the UK, to Mr. Como, who moved out of teaching, to Mr. Atwell, who retired, to Mr. Lawrence, who emigrated to Qatar, to Mrs. Davies, who left teaching, to Mrs. Gilbert, who took up a teaching position at Westville Boys, and to Mrs. Newman and Mrs. van Willing, who both retired. They were replaced by Ms. Wright, Mr. Jarley, Mrs. Barnard, Mrs. Taylor, Mrs. Lessing, and Mrs. Bowley. Mrs. McLaughlin, Mrs. Tonkin, and Mrs. Beeger have all had children this year, and we currently have with us Ms. Nimmo, Ms. Kumar, and Mrs. Schumann filling their positions whilst they were on accouchement leave. In addition, Mr. Aubra got married last weekend, in fact, and we once again extend to him our congratulations. In spite of the turmoil of this year, our students have continued to achieve well in a number of spheres, albeit not as many as usual. The names of all the achievers appear in the booklet in your program. I'm not going to single any out for special mention, but would like to congratulate all those students on their achievements once again. While speaking of matters academic, I must also mention our past students. Many have gone on to do great things, and we've had a number of them come back to speak at prize givings, as indeed we have tonight. The students and some of our parents here tonight will remember the address given by Dr. Amy Booth at our grade 8 to 11 prize giving in February 2019. Well, Dr. Booth has subsequently done us proud by being selected as the school's second Rhodes Scholar, and she's just gone to Oxford University to take up her award. Our first Rhodes Scholar was Mr. Mbongeni Ndlovu, who is with us tonight in his position as chairperson of our trust. At our grade 8 to 11 prize giving in February, we usually present long service awards to staff who have completed 10 or more years of service to the school. We were not able to have the event this year, and so the awards were not made then. I would like to rectify that now, and so I'm going to ask Mr. Burwood if he would come up to join me to make the awards to last year's recipients. We have 6 recipients. 3 of them are on the non-educator staff. I did invite them to come this evening, but they were not able to make it, but I would like to acknowledge their service. So we have 10-year service awards to Mr. Somerton and Mrs. Norris, who, as I say, are not here this evening, but with us here this evening to receive a 10-year service award is Mrs. Jordan. Please come forward, Mrs. Jordan. And then we have 3 people who have qualified for 20-year service awards. Mr. Gay is not with us this evening, but we do have with us the other 2 recipients who I would ask to come forward to collect their awards. And interestingly, they're both in the same department, Mr. Maidley and Mrs. Ramson. I hope to make this year's awards at a prize giving in February 2022. To conclude this section of my address, I must thank all our staff, and I include the non-academic staff, for all they do inside and outside the classroom, for the multitude of opportunities they continue to create for our students, even in these trying, difficult, and stressful times, for the hours and hours of work they do, most of which probably goes unnoticed, and for their continued commitment to excellence and to this school. Ladies and gentlemen, to all of you, on behalf of us here in the hall, thank you very much indeed. Final clip, please.
Lunch.
James Bond fans, of which I am one, were delighted when the latest Bond movie, No Time to Die, was finally released a couple of years ago. I think that's an excellent ad. Got nothing to do with what I still have to say, of course, but I still thought it apt as an introduction to the final section of my speech, entitled Other Matters. There are a few other matters on which I want to report. The school governing body. I've spoken on numerous occasions of the critical role that this elected body plays in the running of any public school in South Africa. It can make or break a school. This school's been fortunate to enjoy the support of a succession of governing bodies whose goal has been to make the school a better place. In March, we once again held governing body elections. The new GB seems to be continuing with the supportive tradition. I must once again thank Mr. Syed and Dr. Thalgar, who stood down at the last election. Mr. Lochner and Mr. Knox-Whitehead did not stand for re-election because they have sons in Matric this year. However, they have been co-opted onto the GB for this year only, and I'm very grateful to the two of them for the important role they've continued to play on the school governing body. I'm particularly grateful to all our SGB members for what they do for the school for free and for their support, but particularly to our chairperson, Wayne Burwood, the vice chairman, Byron Creed, and the chairperson of FinCo, Bronwyn Ingle, with whom I work particularly closely. A number of school improvement projects have taken place under the auspices of the new SGB this year. I'd like to make mention of the following. This MPC has been finished off by installing proper flooring on the upper level, and during the forthcoming summer holidays, a proper rubberized playing surface will be put down on this floor. We were hoping to have it done by tonight, but the unrest in July caused delays in shipping the flooring to South Africa from the Netherlands. Only the kitchen now needs to be finished, and phase one of this massive MPC project will then be complete. I hope we'll be able to have some sort of official opening early next year, and certainly before I leave. We had to resurface the school swimming pool this year. This seems to be necessary about once every 10 years. In addition, new starting blocks have been installed courtesy of Varsity College, and other improvements have been made to the swimming pool area. We've embarked on an extensive recabling of the school's aging ICT infrastructure. This is being undertaken by our network administrator, Mr. Stephen Moffat. The paving on the southern side of School Road was realigned and upgraded during the winter holiday. And at the end of the year, School Road and the staff parking area in front of the hall will be retarred. After 46 years, this is badly needed. The extramural program, this has of necessity been truncated this year. The stop-start nature of the program has been frustrating for all those involved. We once again realized just how important this program is and just how extensively it contributes to the ethos of the school. I really hope that 2022 is going to allow us to run a full extramural program once again. The Hillcrest High School Trust. Originally established in 1987, the trust lay dormant for a number of years until it was resuscitated about 15 years ago. The appointment of a number of new trustees in the last 2 years has certainly breathed new life into the trust. What is particularly gratifying to me is that we now have 3 past students who are very involved in the trust, namely Mr. Mbongeni Ndlovu, who's the chairperson, Dr. Amy Booth, and Mr. Sven Kranzo. They're joined by past GB chairperson, Mr. Rod van Eck, who is the trust administrator and who has been involved with the trust for a number of years, and past business manager, Mrs. Ruth Schroeder. Mr. Victor and I sit on the trust in an ex officio capacity, but we're not trustees because of our other roles within the school. The trust has 2 main aims. Firstly, to finance capital projects which the school would not normally be able to afford, and secondly, to raise funds to subsidize the education of deserving students by awarding trust scholarships to them. The trust has been very successful in the last 2 years in attracting quite substantial funding to finance scholarships for deserving students. And come 2022, will fund the education of no fewer than 9 students here. Some of them are in the MPC tonight. We are, of course, enormously grateful to the various sponsors who have made it possible for us to award all these scholarships. Dr. Amy Booth has headed up the scholarship program, and even though she's now at Oxford University, she still continues to play a significant role. The Trust scholars get more than just their education paid for by the Trust. All have mentors who work with them, and there is also a program of talks organized for them by experts in their field. This year there have, for example, been talks on gender-based violence, climate change, and mental health. I hope that ere long, the Trust will also be able to start financing capital projects at the school. In thanking the trustees for all they have done for the school, I must make particular mention of one past trustee. Mrs. Sandy Sims arrived at Hillcrest High School in 1995 to do a locum. She ended up staying for 13 years, during which time she made an extensive contribution to the school. Quite apart from her excellent teaching, her Matric dances were legendary, as was her catering, and I can certainly attest to that, and the costumes she created for a multitude of school functions. Sandy's association with the school did not end with her so-called retirement. She's continued to serve the school as a trustee, resigning only earlier this year. A kinder, more helpful, more generous, and more energetic person one would struggle to find. A multitude of students and staff, including a number here tonight, can attest to the beneficence of this fairy godmother. Sandy, whilst your formal association with the school has now come to an end, I'm sure that you will continue to be involved here in some way or another, and I think of you as a true friend of the school. A few years ago, I started to make service awards to staff who had made a substantial contribution to the school over a long period of time. This is something that is entirely in my gift. Mr. Frank Parnell, Mrs. Les Moffat, and Mrs. Sue Schroeder are previous recipients of this award. To this list, Sandy, I would now like to add your name, and I have great pleasure in asking you to come forward to receive this award of honors summa cum laude for service, with our immense gratitude for your service to our school. And I must just say, we have both been vaccinated. Thanks. I've already thanked a number of groups of people who have played an important role in the running of the school. However, as I draw to a close, I must also thank our circuit manager, Dr. Zulu. We are so fortunate to have this gentleman as our circuit manager here in the Kwasanti circuit. I'm so sorry he couldn't be here tonight, but he's very involved with promotion posts that have been advertised in the department, and he's on a committee. I would have loved him to have been here at my last prize giving. His support and assistance really is indescribable. His care, and I really just am so grateful for the way he runs his circuit. We're lucky to have him. I'd also like to thank all those students who've contributed to the school in a positive way. It's of course been a difficult year for all of you, and I appreciate the fact that so many of you have remained proud of your school and have continued to hold its name up high. One of the manifestations of this pride is the fact that I've been able to acknowledge 46 of you in my circulars during the course of this year for your acts of honesty. To our parents, we really appreciate your continued support. We know it's been a difficult year for you as well. A weakness of this model of schooling is that it depends on parental funding, for example, for its survival. If funds dry up, then it's difficult to continue running the school in the way that we're used to. You've also had to cope with online schooling, and we appreciate those of you who have supported us from home in this program. To the student leadership team, I received many positive comments about the work that you do here, and I'm grateful to all of you for what you've done under the leadership of Ruth, Cesar, Tora, Jocelyn, David, and Inyasha. The RCL were responsible for the wonderful mural that's on the outer wall of this building. And finally, I must thank members of the wider Hillcrest community for their support and sponsorship of school events and projects. We have a number of very generous sponsors, and their names are all reflected in your program. And so, to our grade 12s. Your school days are almost at an end, even though there is one rather important hurdle to be jumped before that happens. I shared this story with the Matrics 2 years ago, but believe its message is even more appropriate now. One day, a professor walked into the classroom and asked her students to prepare for a surprise test. They waited anxiously at their desks for the test to begin. The professor walked around the class and handed out the question papers with the text facing downwards, as usual. The students were then instructed to turn the page and begin. To everyone's surprise, there were no questions on the paper, just a single black dot in the center of the page. The professor said, "I want you to write about what you see there." The students were more than a little concerned, but did what they'd been told to do. At the end of the test, the professor took in all the answers and read them out aloud to the class. Without exception, the students had written about the black dot, trying to explain its position in the middle of the page. The professor then said, "I'm actually not going to give you marks for this test. I just wanted to give you something to think about." No one wrote about the white part of the paper. You all focused on the black dot. The same thing happens in our lives. We all have a sheet of white paper. Many wonderful things happen around us all the time, and we just take them for granted. We focus our attention and our energies on the small, dot-like failures and disappointments, the health issues, the money that we need, the luxuries we don't have, relationship complications, disappointments with friends, COVID, and so on. Life is a special gift, and we always have reason to celebrate. It's changing and renewing every day. There are our friends, our jobs, our livelihood, our families, all the miracles we could see. You need to realize that the dark spots, even COVID, are very small and only few. Take your eyes away from the black spots in your lives and enjoy each of the blessings that life gives you. And so as you write your final examinations, I would like to leave you with this Apache blessing, if you can just put it up, please. May the sun bring you new energy every day. May the moon softly restore you by night. May the rain wash away your worries. May the breeze blow new strength into your being. May you walk gently through the world and know its beauty all the days of your life. Good luck to you all for your final examinations, and all the very best to you for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention. I'd now like to ask the choir to come forward, please. Hillcrest High School in 2016. I wrote her testimonial at the end of 2016. It ran to 2 typed pages, which even for me is long. And I wrote in that testimonial, amongst other things, Elma has had a school career that can only be described in superlatives. Academically very talented, she has been consistently placed in the top 10 positions in her grade of 199 students. She's been awarded honors for academics in grade 11 and grade 12, and has been the recipient of numerous other academic awards and commendations. She was elected as deputy head leader in charge of culture in that year. And at the end of the testimonial, I said, it will be clear that Elma is a remarkable young lady. She's been a great asset to the school, and it's been a pleasure to know her. She's determined and focused and knows exactly what she needs to do in order to set the very high goals she sets for herself. She knows exactly what she wants to do with her life, and her goals include running her own company. She has a particular passion for gender issues affecting women. And I said at the end, I know that this is a young woman about whom we will hear a lot in years to come. Well, since leaving school, Elma's achievements have been nothing short of remarkable. Many do not achieve as much in a lifetime, let alone 5 years. It's clear that she's a young woman who strives for excellence in all spheres of life. She's currently pursuing a master's degree in strategic business studies, having completed an honors degree in communication management and a BCom law degree. She describes herself as, quote, an advocate for the empowerment of women, a Pan-African citizen, and a voice to be reckoned with, unquote. While still at school, she attended the Global Young Leaders Conference in the US and received a standing ovation at the United Nations as the continental representative for her speech, Young People Dare to Dream. At 17, she received the Barclays Africa Scholarship for Leadership Potential and Academic Excellence. At 18, she became the youngest president of the Golden Key International Society at Pretoria University. At 19, she became a voiceover artist, and she has recorded for the likes of Disney, Netflix, and the BBC. And there's more. At 20, she received a scholarship for postgraduate students developing Africa's next generation of leaders, and soon became the regional representative. At 21, she won the Best Speaker Award at the Global Safety, Health and Empowerment Women's Conference in Toronto, Canada. She's listed as one of the country's best keynote speakers and conference MCs on the We Speak platform, and was listed as one of the country's top 100 employable graduates in 2019 and 2020 through GradStar. She is the founder of Elevate Africa, a company established to pass on the gift of public speaking to young Africans. And most recently, she has become a TEDx speaker. Remarkable indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guest speaker for this evening, one of Hillcrest High's finest, Miss Elma Jacob.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gervin, for that introduction. Good evening, teachers, members of the governing body, members of the trust, those who are tuned in virtually, including my mom and dad all the way in Cameroon. I want to take this opportunity to honor you and thank you for providing the foundation on which I stand and setting the standard of excellence for both me and my sisters. I also like to thank God for this opportunity because it truly is a dream come true. But most importantly, to our guests of honor today, the students. Now, I pause not because I've forgotten everything I wanted to say, but I pause because I recently made it a habit of mine to savor every moment and take mental pictures of memorable events such as these, in hopes that I can sit back and replay them in my mind and go through everything that happened. So I want to invite you to savor this moment with me. What can you see? What are you wearing right now? Who's sitting next to you? And what's on your mind? Is it the nerves of prefix elections that are going to happen on later? Is it the dinner that's waiting for you back at home as you pray no one hears your tummy grumbling? Is it the assignment that you left to the last minute because you work well under pressure? Take it all in and savor every moment. Wow. What an absolute honor it is to be standing right here and to be speaking to you today. This was a dream of mine that started in 2010 when I attended my sister's speech night, and the guest speaker at the time was Tlina Mhlope. And of course, she was dressed in Africa regalia, and she absolutely stunned me. After that, I was in grade 9 when Bongeni Dlovu spoke about the power of failure. And I remember going back to class and telling Miss Ramsuch, you can ask her, that I'm going to speak at a speech night. And well, here we are. So here's a little bit about me. There we go. I was born in Cameroon to a very excellent family of academics and overachievers. My dad is a vice chancellor, my mom has a doctorate, and both my sisters do as well. So I'm the only one who doesn't. And I went from being in Hillcrest Primary School, where I was head girl, a big fish in a small pond, to being in Hillcrest High School, where I was the fish poop at the bottom of the ocean as a grade 8 student. There I saw the coveted white blazer, and I fell in love. After investigating and doing a lot of underground research, I had found the formula. All I needed to do was find a perfect balance between sports, culture, and academics and kill it at all three of those. So I played netball, touch rugby, sang in the choir, was in the debating club, was in the Toastmasters club, was in the public speaking club, and held every single leadership position I could get my hands on. I maintained, like Mr. Gervin said, being in the top 10 throughout my career, and I even spoke at the UN. So I thought I had this down to the T. Everything was going according to plan until grade 11 came. Now, in grade 11, it was time to elect the RCL, the RCL, and I knew that election was vital because if you were elected as RCL in grade 11, you could become the head of the RCL. Now, as the head of the RCL, you had a much better chance of being head girl or head boy, so this was my moment. I had been RCL since grade 8, and this was an election that I just couldn't miss. So I remember running unopposed. I stood up, I gave a speech to the class, very riveting speech, very motivational as well, and no one was going to run against me, so I had this in the bag. I started walking to my seat, and I remember a student, one of the interesting students, stood up and said, "Guys, wouldn't it be funny if we voted for Joyful?" Now, Joyful, as his name suggests, was the class clown. Never wanted to be a member of the RCL, had no sort of interest in it whatsoever, but he was more impressed by the prospects of this joke. He thought, how far can we actually push this? And so he got up and he said, "Guys, if you vote for me, there'll be no more school," to which everyone cheered. And I thought to myself, no, surely this must be a joke, because clearly that's not even possible, you know, making promises that you can't meet. But everyone was pretty impressed by his first promise, and to which he now, really getting into this gusto of leadership, went to the front of the classroom rather and said, "If you vote for me, Civies Day will be every day." To which everyone started cheering, "Joyful, joyful, joyful." And I remember sitting down and thinking, no, it must be a joke. They wouldn't. I don't think they would. 2 days later, the RCL results came out. And, let's just say I started off by being in disbelief. Then it was denial. Then I laughed to myself. And then it was followed by rage, where I walked all the way to the staff room. I asked for Mrs. Modley. She was the head of the grade at the time. And I said, "Mrs. Modley, you won't believe what happened. It was all a joke. But now it's real. Can something happen? Can something be changed? Can we fix it?" Because he won't even attend meetings. He doesn't want to be there. To which Ms. Modley said, "Alma, your class has voted and there's absolutely nothing I can do." And I guess that's how I was introduced to democracy for the first time. Democracy is not pretty. Now, why am I telling you this? Well, for 2 reasons. Firstly, you can only plan so much. And even if you follow every single step to the very T, your plan, and even if your plan is foolproof, you cannot control every outcome of life. And you have to be ready for that, students. Secondly, I remember when I eventually stepped into Joyful's position, because he didn't attend meetings, as I said, I didn't get the title, I didn't get the badge, I just got the work, which is what I wanted to do in the first place, the why. So it's important that you find the reasons of what you are doing, what you're doing. and hold on to it, because without it, you will lose your way. Now, my life motto, as Mr. Gervin said, is striving for excellence in all spheres of life. And what this means is I currently am, and I always will be an overachiever. I was the girl who did too much. If there was a simple oral presentation that we were asked to do, I would prepare the oral presentation. I would also prepare a poster, which would probably be a 3D poster, which you could interact with. I would create a PowerPoint presentation, and I would also launch a website. So my class didn't really like me, because as soon as I got 10 out of 10, you knew you could only get 9, because you couldn't compete. And so I'm here today to talk about my 5-step guide to excellence. And I remember attending a speech night where the speaker used the ABCs and gave the very motivational speech using a letter of each word of the alphabet. So I thought I would do the 1, 2, 3s rather. And number 1 is 1 step at a time. Now, firstly, what this means is you need to actually take a step. Seated in front of you, next to you, and all around you, students, are the next presidents, next speakers, doctors, artists, teachers, and leaders. Some of you already have some brilliant ideas and solutions to the world's problems, but you are silent, afraid, and doubting your own self. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and you need to take that step. If you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. You need to be your biggest cheerleader and take that leap of faith. Just do it, like Nike says. Not tomorrow, not next week, but right now. Well, as soon as speech night is over. What's important is to know that most of us have no idea of where we are going in the long run. Who am I going to be? What am I going to do? What is my final destination? I mean, I know I want to make an impact in the world, but how? Well, when you can't see the final destination and when you can only see the next step ahead, you need to take that step, and the journey will become a lot more clearer. A lot of the times we see the end products in others, and we forget the steps in between that they took to get to where they are. Instead, we want instant gratification, instant success, without putting in any of the work. Savor every moment. Take your time and enjoy it. I always hear young people say, oh, it's too late. People at my age have already done A, B, or C, and I'm late to do X, Y, and Z. Well, late according to who? And according to what? No one's life follows the same trajectory as the other, and so run your own race and run it at your own pace. Yes, there might be speed bumps along the way, but don't keep your eyes off, or rather, yes, don't keep your eyes off the prize. Be persistent, be motivated, and keep on walking 1 step at a time. Also remember to celebrate milestones. I had a friend who recently told me, Alma, you've achieved so much, you must have so many celebrations. And I said, it's quite the opposite. Because I'm doing so much, I never celebrate what's happening right now. I constantly tell myself, I'll celebrate at the next one. And then something else comes up. I'll celebrate at the next one. And I realized that I hadn't celebrated anything. I hadn't savored any moment. All of my wins and successes had been momentary and had been short-lived because I kept waiting for the next big thing. Don't be so fixated on the end goal that you decide to miss the process. You miss the small wins and you miss the journey. Number two. Too much is just enough. Now, this is my absolute favorite. When someone tells you that you are too much or too extra, you need to say, you're right. Thank you. Never apologize for your accomplishments. Never downgrade who you are, because you know exactly how hard you have worked to get to where you are. The sleepless nights, no social life, the extra hours, the sacrifices, and. A lot of the times where motivational speakers or speakers at large are introduced, they always say, oh, wow, such an introduction. I had no idea you were talking about me. I'm the complete opposite. When Mr. Gervin was introducing me, I knew exactly who he was talking about because I worked hard for every single title that he mentioned. Own your power. Stand out. Be extra and be loud. Be too much. Don't shrink yourself to make someone else comfortable. And don't become small for people who refuse to grow. Most importantly, never dim your light because its shine scares others. Put your hand up when you have to answer a question in class. Trust me, it's important. Speak up and use your voice and make sure you are remembered. I remember in varsity, I used to answer all the questions. I ran for different class representatives when there were 1,000 students in the class. And those, or rather, that's one of the reasons why I haven't paid school fees since I was in grade 10. Because I've made sure that I've stood out at every single moment, that I'm known by the Vice Chancellor at the University of Pretoria among 60,000 other students, and that I'm known by every single lecturer. And so when an opportunity comes, I don't even have to vouch for myself. They speak about me without me even being there. And it's so important that you have that impact. Number 3. 3 is not a crowd. Now, I'll be honest with you, no one hates group work as much as me. And trust me, it doesn't get better in varsity. I'm currently doing my master's, and group work is still a thorn in my flesh. But what is important is finding a group of equally yoked friends to do life with. I know it's cliche, but the saying goes, show me your friends and I will show you your future. What are your friends doing? What does your circle look like? And what does that say about you? Do they excite you, motivate you, challenge you, push you to succeed, or is it just vibes? My group of friends are made up of entrepreneurs, women who speak at African Union conferences, get straight A's, and keep me on my toes. Equally yoked is defined as sharing the same set of beliefs and values, and when you are aligned as well. When you chat to your friends, are you chatting about, how to spend all your money in one go, or how to invest your money? Also, apart from friends, it is important that as you are breaking the glass ceiling, as you are taking up seats in the table, as you are walking institutions as the first in your family, that you do not forget to take someone along in the ladder of success. Being the first is commendable, but real impact is made when you ensure that you are not the last by empowering others to come after you. Find a mentor, find someone who inspires you and learn from them, and then become a mentor yourself. That's how we break the cycle of poverty in Africa, by empowering each other. 4, foresee your future. Foresee your future and envision your mission. If you can dream it, then you can see it. And if you can see it, you can believe it. And if you can believe it, you can do it. You need to visualize the you that you want to be. I remember it was in grade 9 that I said I would be a TEDx speaker. And it was last month that I became a TEDx speaker at the University of Pretoria. I think you guys are running out of battery, but we'll keep going. Everyone who knows me also knows that I've had a lifelong dream of being the chairperson of the African Union. And I'm glad that this is being recorded today, because when that does happen in a few years' time, I'll be able to look back at this moment and say that this is where I made it public. You're looking at the new in a few years' time, the chairperson of the African Union. I want to encourage you today, students, to dare to dream big, to dare to dream now, and even if your dream does not become a reality, make that reality your dream. Now, there's no dream that is too big, trust me, but you need to be able to see it for yourself before anyone else can tell you. I remember when I spoke at Hillcrest Primary 2 or 3 years ago, I asked them to visualize what the cover of their books would look like. What's going to be the title of your autobiography? Will it say Sipho the comedian, Londega the president, Brittany the baker, or Sam the engineer? As a young girl, I always knew that one day I would be able to use my voice to shape this continent. And now I have a company called Elevate Africa, where we believe in empowering the future leaders of tomorrow with the voice of using their voices to communicate their world-changing ideas, share information efficiently, clearly, and effectively. We impart public speaking skills all over the continent, in schools, university, and in the workplace, because we believe in the power of your voice. I am living a dream that I had envisioned, the future that I had foreseen. Now, lastly, number 5. Let's find the slides aren't working. There is nothing more precious than your life. So choose life. Every single breath you take is an opportunity. It's valuable, it's meaningful. I'm so worried whenever I see the statistics of young people today who are, stuck in depression, the different suicide rates, and living in a world that wants to constantly change you. A world that is consistently telling you that you aren't good enough. A world where perfection is glorified and reality is vilified. Where even when you want to be you, You have no idea who you are anymore because you have shaped and shifted yourself so many different times to fit in. But we were never meant to fit in. We define life by success and failure rather than impact and connections. I wish someone had told me earlier that failure is not the opposite of success, it's just a part of it. I'll say that again. Failure is not the opposite of success, it's just a part of it. It's important to fail. We need to fail in order to learn, in order to become better, and we are not defined by our failures. Instead, we are prepared by it. We become stronger because of it, and we rise above it. So as you navigate through this life, as you find yourselves and as you step into your purpose, don't forget to live life. So to recap, in the pursuit of excellence, you need to take one step at a time. Never let someone undermine your goal and undermine who you are, because number two, too much is just enough. The journey is so much harder when you take it alone, so don't be a lone wolf. Three is not a crowd. Envision your mission, and foresee your future. Never lose track of who you are and what you believe in and how important you are to everyone around you. Number 5, choose life. Always. Now, as Mr. Gervin said, and as this presentation draws to its close, I am a voiceover artist. And for those who don't know, I didn't know what it was as well when I started. It is when you walk into a bank, for example, and they say, ticket number 31, please head to teller 2. That's the jobs we do. I didn't know it was a vocation. The job world is constantly changing now and again. And also when you walk into the airport and it says, please make sure not to leave your luggage unattended. That's the work that we do as well. And so I cannot leave the stage without doing what we do as voiceover artists and give you a live take of a voiceover. And so I'm going to look over to the tech team and ask if you could press play. Don't lose your way with each passing day. You've come so far, don't throw it away. These were the words of the Hillcrest Primary School song that taught me to never give up. If it is up to be, it's up to me. Those are the words that welcomed me into Hillcrest High School and set the foundation of the pursuit of excellence on which I now stand. I'll fear not what men say, I'll labor night and day to be a pilgrim. The Hillcrest High School song that taught me to determine my own destiny. Although we sang these songs every week as though they were just empty words, little did we know that we were speaking. No, we were pledging into our own very lives. My name is Alma Acob and I have a dream that one day my continent will rise above the ashes and be the powerhouse that we were destined to be, and that I will be part of it. And I'm here to tell you that your dreams are valid, your dreams are possible, and your dreams are within your reach. So dare to dream. This is your life. This is your story. You are the author, so pick up your pen and start writing. Continue to strive for individuality and not conformity. Seek to dismantle superiority and fight for equality. Challenge authority and be the voice for the minority. As I end, carpe diem, carpe omnia, but most importantly, carpe futurum. Thank you.
I would like to say a huge thank you on behalf of everyone here tonight to Ms. Acob. Thank you for taking time out of your week to share your words of wisdom with us. And as we heard, your weeks must be pretty busy. For me personally, it is such an inspiration to see how much you have accomplished in such a short amount of time. When I was first told that I was doing the vote of thanks, I was told to write down things that inspired me while you were speaking. Well, for the first few minutes, I was writing furiously because everything you were saying was inspiring. I am in complete awe. If I had to mention which parts of your speech stood out to me, I think I would end up repeating most of your speech back to you. So instead, I will just say one big thank you. We would like to present you with a small token of our appreciation.
Amazulu athembelona nathi sithembelona. Amazulu athembelona nathi sithembelona. Masibu lalegu Yesu goba wasifela wasenze la isibele ngokusi fela kwakhe tahu ibano ibano fefe gitsi.
Thank you very much, both the Gospel Choir. That was really beautiful. We move on now to the presentation of the prizes. We start with the cultural awards. Geraldine Clark once said, "That's what's so attractive about acting. You get to break all your own rules." The first award this evening goes to a young woman who broke through many rules and vulnerabilities. Her approach to mature content was performed with a rawness seldom seen in high school drama. She puts you on the spot, makes you feel uncomfortable in facing our reality. Surely this is what good acting is, that which leaves you changed. The MacDonald Trophy for the Best Actor is awarded to the talented Olwetu Mate. Service awards. For good service to the school, the France Trophy is awarded to Ruth Brodreich, and the Clark Trophy is awarded to Sizo Nkosi. Marie Curry, Nobel Prize winner, said of our existence, "Life is not easy for any of us, but what of that? We must have perseverance and above all confidence in ourselves. We must believe that we are gifted for something and that this thing, at whatever cost, must be attained." At Hillcrest High School, we believe that our destiny is not determined by the number of times we stumble, but by the number of times we rise up, dust ourselves off, and move forward. The Mitchell Trophy for Perseverance is awarded to a student that embodies this virtue, Joshua Pinnar. The Itshwele Lempangele Award for the Spirit of Togetherness is awarded to a person who has the following qualities: respect for people as human beings, irrespective of the color of their skin, tolerance of racial differences, embracing, with respect, cultural diversity and people of different racial and cultural backgrounds, promoting harmony, good relationships, and love for one another by perpetuating the spirit of unity and racial interaction between learners. The award this year goes to Nyasha Takadi. This student demonstrates all of our school moral principles of hard work, honor, and service, as well as the values of public education. She is an excellent student who has maintained an extremely high academic standard throughout the 5 years she has been at Hillcrest High School. Her subject teachers hold her in high regard, and she is not afraid of working hard in order to achieve her goals. The recipient is an extremely worthy student leader who proudly represents her school and significantly contributes to our positive reputation within the community. The Walsh Trophy for the Pursuit of Excellence is awarded to Kiara Butt. Through dedication and hard work, this young lady has excelled in all facets of her school life. Academically, she has pushed to remain in the top 10 and maintained over 75% aggregate in each of her grades at Hillcrest High School. She has been a member of both cultural and sporting teams and has excelled in hockey, soccer, and touch rugby, and was a member of the South African touch rugby squad since 2019. As the deputy head girl, her hard work, honour and service to the school has been exemplary. The Cobb Muller Shield for the best all-rounder, Jocelyn Rulon. The Morris Family Trophy for excellence in a subject not offered by the school goes to Kiara Butt for music. Moving on to the academic awards. Half colours are awarded to learners who have achieved an aggregate of between 70 and 74% in grade 12. Please will the following learners come forward in the order in which I call your names. Nolwazi Mgenge, Re-Award. Georgia Becker, Re-Award. Ashley Herbert, Re-Award. Retabile Mokotle, Re-Award. Megan van Niekerk, Re-Award. Abigail White. Cynthia Zakata, Re-Award. Diego Delmedo, Re-Award. Courtney Riggs, Re-Award. Shayur Chaithram. Chuma Mia, Re-Award. Siawu Kelele Masondo, Re-Award. Tabu Mudise. Valeria Kipaskaya, Re-Award. Okwetu Zondi. Julia Hout. Cameron Cunningham, a Re-Award. Well done. Ladies, they've laid out certificates in such a way that the order isn't that important. So if you can't remember, you can just come forward and choose your certificate. Thank you. Colours are awarded to learners who have achieved an aggregate of between 75 and 79%. Please will the following learners come forward. Yamkelo Madansela, Re-Award. Charlotte Franklin, Re-Award. Jessica O'Shaughnessy, Re-Award. Jordan Benjamin, Re-Award. Jessica Wilson, Re-Award. David Hunter, Re-Award. Siamtanda Nzimande. Michaela Lamprechts. Laura Ann Tischendorf. Jonathan Lavender, Re-Award. Sean Singleton, Re-Award. And Kaylee Bowden. Congratulations. Honours are awarded to learners who have achieved an aggregate of between 80 and 84%. Tonight, these are awarded to Jordan Knox-Whitehead, a re-award, Hayden Ainhern, re-award, Erin Barr, Jessica Dempers, Jocelyn Rulon, re-award, Sepokazi Dlamini, re-award, Kiara Butt, Rudy Altman, re-award, Megan Vandenberg, re-award, and Michaela Robertson. Well done. Honours cum laude are awarded to learners who have achieved an aggregate of 85% or higher. Congratulations to Taryn Body, a re-award, Alyssa Petronia, Ruth Brodryk, Olwetu Marte, a re-award, and Anouk Kleinstra, also a re-award. The next recipient has a sharp, analytical mind, and she works systematically and meticulously. The shoulder trophy for the subject prize in accounting, Taryn Body. This young lady is humble and modest, never allowing her outstanding results to alter her lovely demeanour and passion for education. The Price Waterhouse Coopers Trophy for Excellence in Accounting is awarded to Olwetu Marte. This student has a natural ability in Afrikaans, but what has set her apart from the other students was the fact that she has always made sure she understood everything and studied very hard to achieve this exceptional result. She is a pleasure to teach and has made her teacher very proud. The subject prize for Afrikaans goes to Des-Anne Parkin. This gentleman has worked steadily throughout the year, but when it came to the trial examination, he went into another gear and produced excellent work. He received the top mark for paper 2, and that is no easy task. He is a very interested and focused student, doing extra work and working steadily up to the last day of school. He constantly strives to improve his results. His drive and willingness to learn make him an absolute pleasure to teach. The Jordan Trophy for Afrikaans for a pupil who shows a passion for the language is awarded to Hayden Ainhern. As the famous Estee Lauder once said, "I never dreamed about success. I worked for it." This young lady has worked consistently since grade 10. She is conscientious and dedicated and a worthy recipient of both the Subject Prize for Business Studies and the Subject Prize for Consumer Studies. Well done, Michaela Robertson. The next recipient has given the best she can this year, even when she did not find the work easy. Her diligence and hard work, especially in the kitchen, has made her so deserving of this award. Mrs. Beeger says that she is so proud of her for always rising to the occasion. The Marge McLaren Trophy for Practical Excellence in Grade 12 Consumer Studies is presented to Asanda Sishi. Oscar Wilde regarded the theatre as the greatest of all art forms. He said it was the most immediate way in which a human being can share with another the sense of what it is to be a human being. The Subject Prize for Dramatic Arts, Charlotte Franklin. This year, the award for achievement in practical drama has to be shared between 3 determined, hard-working actors. All 3 received the highest mark possible in a practical exam, and deservedly so. Their performances were dynamic, polished, and creative. Congratulations. The NMR Trophy for Achievement in Practical Drama is awarded to Kira Smith, Sean Singleton, and Charlotte Franklin. Lawrence J. Peter once said, "An economist is an expert who will know tomorrow why the things he predicted yesterday didn't happen today." The Sutton Trophy for the Subject Prize in Economics, Yamkelo Madansela. The Javaskovits Trophy for Engineering, Graphics and Design is awarded to a young man who is extremely focused and precise. Congratulations, Rudy Altman. In English, one must be able to analyze texts for understanding, critically engage with literary texts, create writing with an imaginative mind, deliver thought-provoking speeches, and engage in discussions. This young lady has always had a mature outlook on the world. Her interest in current affairs has expanded her vocabulary and the ability to comment intelligently on points raised in class. And her wisdom is definitely far beyond her years. She has shown excellence in all aspects of the English curriculum. Congratulations to Anouk Kleenstra for her Congratulations to Anouk Kleinstra for her outstanding achievement in English. Before she gets too far away, the Grade 12 Literature Prize this year is shared between two equally talented young ladies, Anouk Kleinstra and Jessica Dempers. Miss Boyce writes the following: "This learner has a way with words that is nothing less than magic. She is able to plunge her reader into a futuristic world or conjure up a lifelike scene from war. I have had the privilege of marking this young lady's work for the past 5 years, and I have been in awe of the ease with which she writes such remarkable stories. Thank you for taking me on so many incredible journeys." Here is an extract from her Trials Paper 3 exam. "Mitty begged me not to enlist, and Dar backed her, with stories of maggoty corpses and meals that were more rot than bread. I don't understand either of them. War is glorious. The fanfare of gunfare is fantastic, the clinking of empty shells like the victorious cheers of men in a bar. Even the mud gropes my feet with a sort of reverence, and the men I shoot bow as they die. Stalking over the front lines, by contrast, is almost disappointing, but the skies hold their breath with the anticipation of a captivated audience. How far do we have to go?" Henry whispers behind me. "Until we find their lines," Joseph answers tersely. The Alan Paton Prize for Creative Writing in English goes to Jessica Dempers. The following young lady has developed an immense love for the English language over the past few years. Miss Boyce taught her from grade 8 and often worried that she was going to allow herself to drift into mediocrity. However, her passion for English proved Miss Boyce wrong. Instead, it made her work with such drive and determination that she was able to improve her marks by 2 symbols, earning herself an A for her school-based assessment mark and making Miss Boyce exceptionally proud. May her passion for English continue to grow in the years ahead. The Watt Trophy for a pupil with a passion for English goes to Michaela Lamprechts. The recipient of the Witt Memorial Trophy for Geography is a self-motivated, disciplined student with a passion for learning. Congratulations, Kiara Butt. The benefits of the acquisition of The next award goes to a dedicated, mature and responsible student who has displayed an exceptional work ethic over the past 3 years. She has a critical mind, meticulously analyzing the question before answering with impressive articulation. The Thunder Trophy for History goes to Kiara Butt. The Schouter Trophy for Excellence in Information Technology is awarded to a young man who has exceptional programming skills, which are further improved by his motivation and dedication. The deserving recipient is Bradley Cooper. The Mbanjwa Family Trophy for isiZulu is awarded to a diligent, conscientious student who always gives of her best, Apiwe Kumalo. The isiZulu Subject Prize for the non-mother tongue pupil with the highest mark is awarded to Tora Keating. This young lady displays an exemplary work ethic, which is clearly exhibited in the quality of assessments she submits. Her answers are well motivated and always supported by additional research to endorse her arguments. She is a respectful young lady who is always willing to engage in classroom discussions on a variety of subjects and has been an absolute pleasure to teach. The subject prize for life orientation goes to Jocelyn Roulon. The subject award for life sciences goes to an extremely diligent and intelligent young lady who shows a real interest in this subject. She has a commendable work ethic and a determination to always reach her goals. The Hay Trophy for life sciences, Taryn Body. Mathematical literacy is a subject that provides learners with an awareness and understanding of the role that mathematics plays in the modern world. The subject prize for mathematical literacy is awarded to Michaela Robertson. The subject prize for mathematics is awarded to a student who displays a passion and dedication to achieving his goals. He has a calm and cheerful nature, excels in academics, and is always willing to help. The Steger Trophy for mathematics goes to Rudy Altman. The next learner has a flair for mathematics. She can visualize and solve abstract problems. She works extremely hard and, like every good mathematician, never gives up when faced with a challenging problem. She has coped well with the challenge of advanced program mathematics, showing dedication and perseverance. The Sparks Trophy for Advanced Program Mathematics goes to Alwetu Mate. This young man has a natural affinity for mathematical and scientific concepts, an analytical mind that many scientists would be in awe of, as well as a sense of humor and a charm second to none. The worthy recipient of both the Sadler Trophy for Physical Science and the Trophy for Excellence in Mathematics and Physical Science is awarded to Jordan Knox Whitehead. The worthy recipient of the Singh Family Trophy for Tourism is a hard-working, diligent student. He makes a concerted effort to try his best in class and has certainly demonstrated maturity as evident in his excellent results. Mawande Zungu. The worthy recipient of all 3 Visual Arts Awards this year is a learner who has shown effort far beyond that required since grade 10. Her work shows high technical skill and outstanding visual qualities. Her paintings are confident and evocative. The wow factor is always evident. Her written essays are always insightful and show deep understanding of the social issues expressed by artists throughout art history. Mrs. Nicholas writes that what she will remember most about this learner is her maturity, work ethic, and commitment. The subject prize for visual art, the Botma Trophy for outstanding practical work in art, and the Kirsty Robertson Memorial Trophy for outstanding achievement in Matric art are all awarded to Ruth Broderick. As we reach the culmination of this very prestigious evening, we come to our 3 final awards. These prizes are awarded based on the learner's aggregate, which has been calculated using the whole year's marks and includes the continuous assessment marks which are submitted to the Education Department. The prize for the pupil who has placed 3rd in grade 12 goes to Anouk Kleinstra. The COP Trophy for the Proxime Accessit Ducks, Alyssa Petronia. Finally, the Hammond Trophy for the Ducks of the School is awarded to Taryn Body.
Good evening, Mr. Gervin, parents, members of the governing body, the grade 11 monitors, and the class of 2021. For those of you that don't already know me, my name is Ruth Broderick, and I was the head girl for this past year. Let's take a moment to reflect on the past 5 years, starting with our very own grade 8 orientation. Go back. We had no idea what we were in for. We didn't know that notebooks would become our Bibles, or that Afrikaans teachers could walk around with sticks, keeping the school in check. When you start high school, everyone speaks about how you'll blink and you'll be in Matric. You spend the first 2 years finding your feet, then grade 10, you choose your subjects, and to me, it was the year where next year is Matric. Clearly, grade 10 was something very different for Sean and Kira. Then, as most people will tell you, grade 11 is direct preparation for grade 12. A year where you hear "these marks are important for university" speech about 1,000 times. Well, I don't need to remind you that last year was everything but ordinary, and I certainly didn't feel prepared for grade 12. But does anyone really ever feel prepared? Am I the only one who feels like we just skipped Christmas and 2020 and 2021 has just been one long year? No one was prepared for that. With that in mind, I want to say a huge thank you to all the teachers and members of staff who work tirelessly for their students and for the school. I know how difficult it has been to be a student during COVID, and I can't even imagine being a teacher during COVID. Mr. Gervin. I have all the respect in the world for you, and you truly are the anchor of the school. And I have to say, selfishly, that I'm quite chuffed that you held out for this year and are only retiring next year. I know for a fact that I would have not made it through this year without the people sitting next to me, the exec of 2021. Yes, Jocelyn's eyes are closed, and no, that was not the first photo. With all the challenges we've faced this year, we've faced them together. It's taken all year, but Cesar and Yasha were finally on time for an event. And I think that deserves a round of applause. To the rest of the SLT, it has been an absolute pleasure to work with each and every one of you. We've had some good laughs and memories that we'll cherish forever. To the class of 21, we made it. What a year it has been. I don't mean to dredge up the past, but we've made it through some pretty unusual things. Various strains of COVID, Kira running across the field and straight into the boys' bathroom, and even the civil disturbance drill. We conquered it all. Well, that drill, maybe not so much. I don't need to remind you that it's not over yet, and I want to wish you all the best for these upcoming exams. In the wise words of Miss Boyce, we are meant to conquer exams. Exams are not meant to conquer us. Unquestionably, the most challenging thank you that I need to make tonight is for one of the strongest people I have ever met. Because I don't quite know how you thank someone for being everything from a school mom, a counselor, a friend, and a mentor. So to Miss Woodstock, thank you for everything you've done for me and this team. I'm confident that all 40 SLT members will agree that we would be nowhere without you. To my mom, dad, and brother, thank you for all the love and support you've showed me this year. I feel like we've grown as a family over this challenging year, and I wouldn't have wanted to go through it with anybody else. Now I'd like to hand over to my work husband, Cesar Nkosi, head boy for 2021. You've been everything I needed you to be. The good cop, the bad cop, the brave one, and the chilled one. You are leaving some incredibly big shoes to fill. Thank you.
The arrival of COVID-19 ruined many plans, destroyed the image of a perfect year, and sadly caused heartache for thousands. Facing the toughest year of our careers in the middle of a pandemic was certainly a daunting challenge. However, if the pandemic has taught us one thing, it has taught us to be resilient, strong, and patient, and that excuses are not the way to succeed. I know I have learned to appreciate every single moment with my loved ones. Good evening, Mr. Gervin, Ms. Acob, members of the governing body, school management, ladies, gentlemen, and students. Hillcrest High School is a time that is ruled by challenges, emotions, and new experiences, some good and some bad. But as I stand here today, allow me to indulge in a trip down memory lane. On the 9th of January 2017, over 200 students from different schools and homes came to one place to start a new chapter in their lives. Starting a new journey is always difficult, but we all knew we were in for a ride of our lives when Samtanda and Mrs. Moodley had a little spirited debate about hair that day. And so we won't forget our first time. I also won't forget my first time singing in front of everyone in the school. The day that everybody knew Sizwe Nkosi. I'm sure we will also remember all our less than perfect behavior. It's not the best reflection of us as a grade, but what can we do? Grade 9 came along with the sudden rush of maturity, or so we thought. The boys decided to wear skinny pants, and they were budding businessmen dealing with sweets and lollipops. With all the boundary pushing we did, Mr. Pandey's office became a second home to most of us. Hillcrest High is a place that forgives and gives sometimes 3, 4, even maybe 5 chances. But forgiveness is always in the heart of the school. 2019, the good old days. So many of us rising for the first time in first teams of our respective activities. We started to grow up and get a bit serious. It was a year that was filled with many ups and downs, but I certainly appreciate my memories of running onto the rugby field with cheering supporters all around. It's a feeling like no other. Personally, as a grade 11 in 2020 redefined our lives. We came to school for one term and stayed at home for months afterwards. Hillcrest High's online learning developed as quickly as it could. And while we are all grateful for the support that it provided, it really taught us to appreciate the benefits of being in a classroom one-on-one with the teacher. 2020 was also the year that Ruth and I were appointed head leaders. And needless say, that is a memory I won't soon forget. As a proud matriculant of the class of 2021, I can safely say that this year has been one of the most challenging years of my life. I have tried to balance my commitments to the SLT, my academics, extramural activities, and my personal life. It hasn't been an easy journey, but it is one that has made me stronger. This really has been a journey of a lifetime for all of us as matrics here at Hillcrest High. And we leave here not taking only our education, but memories that we'll hold close for a lifetime. Through all these years, there have been a lot of people that have made an impact in my life. And to extend my gratitude, I'd love to start with Mr. Gervin. To Mr. Gervin, who goes by the names of Papa G, Gervinator, and the most famous G-Dog. For always being there and setting a good example for all students. You truly are a pillar of the school. Thank you for always having belief in me and giving me an honor of wearing this blazer and leading the SLT. To our lovely grade controllers, Mr. McTavish and Mrs. Joko. I mean, what can I say? You two have been one of the most awesome grade controllers a student can ask for. So thank you for all that you've done for us. Your understanding, humor, and kindness will never be forgotten. To our Mama Smurfs, Mrs. Whitstock and Mrs. Ramson, we appreciate all that you've done for the SLT and caring for each and every one of us. But to Mrs. Whitstock, a special thank you from me to you for all the talks and advices, even the catch-up sessions that we had. They were truly amazing. To all the sports staff who make sure that we are in the best shapes for all our games. We truly appreciate your hard work and dedication. Your coaching goes beyond the physical aspect, and you have often served as a safe space for students to turn to and be given advice with a healthy dose of roasting. Speaking of which, a special shout out to Mr. Noble, the guy that takes every ability and every opportunity to roast me and use it to his best ability. I appreciate everything that you've done for me since grade 8, and I'll forever be grateful for you. To the best SLT To the best SLT ever, thank you guys. It's been an honor working with you. And thank you for playing your part and making it a successful team. To my exec team, you guys truly are a blessing to me. And I'll cherish all our memories, even the embarrassing ones. I'm not sure I'll ever be able to twerk again, but I know I wouldn't have done it without Jocelyn. Ruth, my other half. This has been a journey where we transformed from ordinary students, into the leaders of HHS. And I'm grateful that I have had you as my fellow head leader. To my friends, you all know that I appreciate you and I'm thankful for everything that you've done. But to a very special friend, who has made this year a lot easier to deal with, thank you for everything that you've done. I truly appreciate you, and you are a blessing to me. And last but certainly not least, Mama Nobab, Bonkos, Slupsat Sagalo Bamb, Shete Skamalandel, Ngwano Mus, Ngiyabonga ngakho konke ningifundise kona. Thank you for all your morals. I know I wouldn't be standing here today if it weren't for you guys and everything that you instilled into me from a young age. So thank you. I hope I've made you guys proud. Finally, a message to the grade 11s who are nervously waiting for announcement of the 2021 to 2022 SLT. Remember that this blue shirt comes with responsibility and power. You are the future leaders of the school, and how you lead will contribute to a successful or unsuccessful year. It is always better to approach discipline through communication. Shouting at a fellow student is definitely not the path to success. Lead with empathy, discipline, and kindness. Work together and always act in the best interest of the school. It's been an honor being the head boy of 2021, and I hope that I've lived up to the 3 letters of the school's name, HHS, hard work, honor, and service. I leave here today hoping that I've made you all proud. To Hillcrest High School, thank you. And since this is Mr. Gervin's last speech night, can we all stand up and give him a round of applause?
Thanks very much, Cesar, for that. The moment has arrived, grade 11s, after a long process. And I just need to say that as much as we would like to make all 80 plus of you members of the SLT, it's just not possible. And I think that our reaction to events is really what defines us in the long term. So some of you in a few minutes are going to be very happy, and of course some of you are going to be disappointed. But whatever category you fall into, as I say, it's going to be your long-term reaction that will determine, that will define you. And I'd remind you about what Elma said a little bit earlier on, because I think her message was so important, perhaps especially to those of you who might not have made it onto the SLT. So it gives me pleasure to announce the names of the SLT for the remainder of this year and for 2022. Cash Adruth Kumar, Stacey Aldworth, Hannah Brown, Amber Bunce, Caitlin Burwood, Stephanie Cameron, Mika Delport, who will work in the LSU, Kai Farmer, who will work in the LSU, Tristan Fowlis, Kaylee Fries, Cade Higgett, Jethro Hobbs, Sheldon Homan Govia, Melissa Jacobs, Taya Jurg, Mika Keating, Tia Keating, Apiwe Kumalo, Yandisa Kumpimpi, Kirsten Larkin, Jessica Lilly, Luyanda Majola, Tamsin Manning, Connor Massey, Alice Matebula, Candice Nkunu, Linda Ngalavu, Matthew Morrison, Aaron Munro, Temba Likona Ngobo, Zoleka Ngobo, Alizwa Nchangas, Laurice Udendal, Chloe Padeachi, Ivana Perumal, Mandisa Poswe, Matt Piper, Paige Saunders, Tia Shepperson, Zoe Shepperson, Sabelo Shezi, Kyle Solomon, Adil Syed, Keegan Wade, and Damien Walford. Congratulations to all of you. Well done. I'm now going to ask the members of the current executive to come forward to announce the names of the new executive, and I would ask you, ladies and gentlemen, to actually come forward to receive your badges. So we'll start with the deputy head girls, then we'll do the deputy head boys, then the head girl, then the head boy.
Zoleka Ngobo. Melissa Jacobs.
Congratulations to Alizwa Nchangase,
and Matt Piper.
And head girl for 2022, Stephanie Cameron.
And the head boy for 2022, Carl Solomon.
Congratulations and well done to you all. Your work begins tomorrow morning. So, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of this evening's prize giving. I'd like to thank everyone for their contribution this evening. We're going to stand and close with the national anthem, and once that is over, if I could just ask you to give the staff a minute to leave. If I could also just remind the prize winners that they need to remain behind for some photographs. Ms. Kidgel, where are you going to be taking those? Oh, here in the front. Could I ask you to stand and we close with the national anthem? Thank you.